I said, yo, man, I got me up. I want to let be live where I saw it. Now he said, I've been rapping my home and I get it. And my kid was doing, I'm breaking the profit. On my way, people calling me names. All the trouble I see, I do at the peace. When the suffering, the success, I copy the code, they how I get paid. Sooner or later, my hustle pay. Never, and I'm rushing myself. Keep it cool, everything out of CC. Too much rushing, I'm probably chasing. One day. One day. I'll get it cool. One day,
I know my hustle gonna pay one day. Enemies they're gonna see my face. Me but I know I'm not watching it. One day, success gonna come my way. I know my hustle gonna pay one day. Enemies they're gonna see my face. Me but I know I'm not watching it. One day, success gonna come my way. Yeah. My mama was so angry. My papa was so angry. My friend was the money. Any mess that will come on and miss. So I'm my way. 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 I'm my I'm on my way to this person that's looking for money. Looking for money, looking for money. I won't make mama happy. Won't make papa happy. Won't make all my brothers and sisters to come around me.
Yeah, Capilico, why you know you hustle? Why saying the go by the Genesis? Shall come at the fire, why I feel be working on Wednesday. You must look for the ma, all in the dark, all in the week, all in the sun. The
mama was so angry.
My
papa was so angry. My friend was the money. Any mess that will come on and miss. So I'm my way. 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 I'm my way.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tony Commander Glapohkpa Chesson talk show. Today, I'm at Kebe's African restaurant on the other side of Providence. And she is right here. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Kebe McCann.
Now, Kebe has been here for a while, and this is one of our Liberian restaurants. So, Kebe, tell us how long you've been in this spot and why you decided to get into business.
I've been in this spot for 14 years now. I decided to open this restaurant because of helping people, going out and feeding the homeless, and we need a place where the food be cooked. And I opened this restaurant. Since then, I'm still at the same place, 850 Admiral Street.
So how has the community responded to your effort?
Well, the community has responded greatly to my efforts. I do successful feed the homeless, and people have embraced the business, and it led me to move forward to Liberia to open the orphanage for children in Liberia.
Wow, you have an
All
orphanage?
from this restaurant.
You kidding me?
And because of the customer has been very nice to me and loyal to me, I was able to go to Liberia 3 weeks ago and open an orphanage in my late mother's name, Eugenia Bright,
Wow. Where's the orphanage?
in New Georgia, Monrovia, Liberia.
Wow. So what message do you have for your customers?
Well, my customers are very loyal to me, and they are very faithful. They always help me when we're doing the backpack giveaway for children every year, which will soon be coming down end of the month. And then we give the food away, the turkey and chicken in November. And because of the customer, all the tips they leave and all the encouragement help me to promote this business and do what I'm doing moving forward. So I love my customers, I love my neighbors, and I love everybody in general.
We thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you, and God bless you too.
Thank you too. Let the people see the delicious food you fix in
Okay,
there.
go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you this beautiful, beautiful morning? It's in the lower 30 degrees in Providence, Rhode Island, cool, cloudy, but a beautiful day still. And have no fears, there's no rain. So it's just going to be dry and cloudy all day. I think it's going up to lower to mid 50s. Much better than yesterday. We're in the 40s. Even though we're not going to have sun today, it may be cloudy all day. So take heed and govern yourselves. I didn't hear anything about rain or precipitation. Take heed and govern yourselves accordingly. Now, Kirstie Allen passed away. That was one of my favorite stars on Cheers. You know Cheers, the comedy show with what a man in had Woody Allen. They introduced Woody Allen. Is that Woody Allen? No, they're not Woody Allen. That's Woody. You know who I'm talking about? The other Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson. And they had him in that show. They introduced him. And had one or two other actors, but it was Cheers was a funny show. It was about this bar in Boston or somewhere there. And it was just nice, funny. Okay, it had dancing on it. So I can't remember all the stars, man. But it was a funny show. And she just passed away, cancer, at 71. I want to take a second for her of silence. I really liked Kristen Allen. I really liked her. May her soul rest in peace. Okay, what other news from in America? Yeah, the Superman building downtown in Providence, Rhode Island. They got this 3-sided building. It's called the Superman building, just like in the movie, the Superman movie. And that building has been sitting empty for years. Now the city and the state has decided to give it to renovators and developers. And these guys, when they're going to develop it, they're going to have offices. They're going to have high-class apartments in there, and they're going to have affordable housing in there too. We wish there were more affordable houses, but they're just giving us a few. So it's already been approved. The lights are on in that around that building and in that building now, and I hope it be successful. Some people talking about they should demolish the building. Why demolish the building? There's no problem with the building. It's been sitting there for years. It's the Superman building. You demolish the Superman building? You're crazy. That building would not break. You hit that thing with stone, it would bounce back. And you hit it with ball, the metal ball, it would bounce back. You destroy the city. That's a Superman building. So they're going to occupy that building, and hats off to my Providence people. Okay? What's happening in Liberia? I put my news up for Liberia. You know that that company that was fixing the airport road that belonged to Nathaniel McGill, East International. Now the Ministry of Public Works says it doesn't have the capacity nor the ability to build the RIA highway, the Ramos International Airport Highway. That's a death trap right now. Apparently, a lot of roads in our country are death traps now. We're supposed to have road medicine, but I know the road medicine called a cool or COVID-19. So, okay, so the public works said that company is no good. What else? Can you imagine? We're going back into time. It was around the same time with all this upheaval in our country when Carl Jones at the finance ministry under Doe took 2 employees that they caught stealing there and brought them outside on Broad Street, and they handcuffed them to the pole or something and beat them right on Broad Street. That was the beginning and the end of the Doe administration. You start beating people in the middle of the street, you bring the people outside instead of taking them to court, let them be tried first before you beat them. You just bring the people outside, no trial, nothing, and you handcuff the people to the pole outside of the finance ministry, in the front of the finance ministry. They handcuff those guys to the pole and flog them right there. Now, I'm a proponent for corporal punishment, but you can't institute corporal punishment without due process of law. People got to be tried and convicted. Then you can flog them. You can't flog them without trying them. You see, and all these things give a bad vibe to corporal punishment. Because for a small country like us, corporal punishment is necessary. If we don't want to crowd our prisons with prisoners like the Western jails and things like that, we got to know how to alleviate some of this problem. So for minor misdemeanor and things like that, why you want to put people in jail? Just flog them. 3 strikes you out. 3 strikes, then they stay in jail. But for poor people, corporal punishment won't work. So the Minister of Justice, after the incident at the VOA, 2 news journalists went over to the Justice Ministry to interview and get information from the Justice Ministry office. The minister ordered his security to flog the people. So they flogged them. That's in the news for this morning. And that's the same thing Carl Jones did when Samuel Doe government was about to fall apart. He had 2 people flogged outside his office. And this is the same thing that happened. Okay, what's that? Rice. The monopoly on rice has been lifted. Anybody can import rice in Liberia now. Anybody. So if you feel you want to get involved with the importation business, more power to you. But the 2 or 3 companies that they assigned the rights to import rice in Liberia, we see now that it's not conducive. This monopoly, you get the 3 companies, they couldn't meet the supply and demand of the Liberian Republic. So we have rights shortages, hoarding, false prices. All these things were going on because there were only 3 people controlling the whole rice supply in Liberia. Now they have listed it, and there's no more monopoly, so people can, all of you out there want to import rice, go ahead and do it. Okay? The voter registration has been postponed from December 15 to we don't know when. It may be when Hector has a pup, or we don't know when. Okay? So our election is supposed to be next year. We're postponing everything. The census now working properly. We haven't heard anything about the census lately. Maybe it's still ongoing, but we haven't heard. So wherever we're supposed to be going, we headed that way, whether it's good or bad. Okay? So let me start my topic for this morning, and we'll deal with some issues that we need to touch with in our community. Today's topics: violence begets violence. Is the Congress for Democratic Change ready for the violence? 2. December 17, 2022 scheduled We Tiyah Suffering rally. We'll talk about that. Okay? So we know that 1 letter, 2 letter, 3 letter EPS, 4 letter, 5 letter, 6 letter EPS, 7 and 8 and 9 EPS ran away from our president. They left him in Europe, stranded with clear hair. They left him in Europe, stranded with clear hair. Then took off in the wilderness. Why? Because they're tired suffering. Let me take a break and we back to my show. Everybody tired suffering. They're tired suffering. So they're stranded. The president all by himself with Claire at the airport. And 9 EPS officers took off on their own. The tired suffering. Hey, the tired suffering. The tired suffering. Hey, the tired suffering. Hey, the tired suffering. Hey, the tired suffering. Take off on your own. How long has this business been in operation?
We've been in business for about 5 years now.
How has the cooperation of the community been?
It's been pretty much supportive, not just Africans, but also our brothers and sisters, the African American community also been supportive, as well as other African and even other nationalities. So far, so good. We've been having a lot of support from different ethnic groups and different nationalities.
So we all saw the violence on TV and on the internet yesterday when Louis Brown of the ANC, now the CPP, joined with Liberty Party, went to make his speech at the VOA radio station yesterday on Capitol Bypass. A group of CDCN violent went there and demanded to enter the place to stop his interview because they say he be no better than George Weah government. He's not no better than nobody there. When he was serving there, he did almost the same thing. So now he opposition leader. He against it. So this was what all the uproar was about. And those guys started throwing stones. The police had to come disperse, and we all saw that. So I don't need to get into all that issue again. But this is what happens when the same politicians who have served in 2, 3, 4 governments try to resurrect themselves as brand new with a new message and a new movement after they have served for unbroken years in 2 different administrations. Then they come with, they want to act like they're brand new. What they're talking, they're against corruption. So the people saying, hey, you serve under the most corrupt president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. You serve under another corrupt president, George Weah. Now you coming and talking the same thing. You weren't singing these songs when you were serving for them. Everything was kosher. You didn't want no rocking the boat. You didn't want no noise. So now you were the opposition. All of a sudden, you tired? You tired with what? The same thing you brought upon the Liberian people? And this is the question of the opposition. So they went to the radio station, tried to bust into there. And the worst part was when they started throwing stones. Oh, man, come on. You can kill people. You hit people in the eye, in the head. You don't know where those stones going, man. And these kids start throwing stones. And they say ANC sent their by the people there. They were going to get into a clash. Yeke Koluba, Senator Yeke Koluba, District 10, Representative Yeke Koluba of District 10 were on Spoon TV. And he was telling people he got his protection. He showed all his batons that he bought. He said he bought 300 of them. 300 batons for his security force. I think Louis Brown was foolish. You know these people are ruthless. You see Jefferson Koji, the minister, the city hall mayor, walking in the streets now with people behind him with cutlasses going to start fight. He institutes fights. He's all this. Then you go and talk against this man, call him a little boy and all of that. Then you go to a radio station to have an interview and you don't carry security. You don't make sure you got people outside in case anything happens. That's not new. We expect this kind of violence from this group. We know for all through Ellen Johnson Sirleaf time, these people protested, carried caskets, did everything they wanted to do on her. Now they're scared of protest. All of a sudden, nobody can protest. They haven't counter-protest. Protest bad. You're carrying on protests all those years. Nobody talk. Now protest all of a sudden bad. You're instigating the violence by going there and trying to stage counter-protest and stop the people from having the protest. Why you want to do that? Nobody bother you for years in this country. Liberia, you did your protest on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Nobody bother you. Why all of a sudden people can't have protests in the country? You're either going to plan a protest or bring some violence against the people. Why? Why? And the leadership of the CBC tolerating this kind of thing. They're tolerating it. They are tolerating it. Because we hear George Weah went in his pulpit and said all kind of things about Louis Brown. All kind of things. Because of this retire rally. Then people say they won't have the rally. You can't let the people have the rally and do what they want to do. Why you got to stop it? Will it change the minds of CDCians? Will it make them gravitate to CPP or ANC or Liberty Party, wherever they call themselves? The people said not organized. The people not together. Now we hear Costa talking about he will not partake in the rally. We hear the other person say they will not partake in the rally. Everybody talking about they will not. So what's the purpose of this rally? Is it just one opposition party? And the other parties are saying, no, we're not getting involved with you, you're on your own. Is this how we're going to continue this lackadaisical leadership of our country? You know, everybody just coming, with this kind of laissez-faire leadership. Oh, it happened, it happened, it happened, it happened. You know, what's wrong? What's wrong with leadership in our country? The people who want to lead us not speaking up. The people leading us not speaking up. And things going on in our country. Every day, things happening. New developments. Where we going to go? We, the Liberian people, where do we stand in all of this? I mean, I just want to know, because if we're going to go back to the 1980s, we're going to go back to the Doe era and the Turbo era and digress from our progress and advancement, it's hard. After years of suffering, after years of striving to bring democracy in our country, after years of trying to overcome evil and corruption and stealing and murder with impunity, we ended up in the same place, going back to a civil war, going back into violence, going back into negativity. Why? Why? Is it that because we got too many young people in our country that don't know their butts from their totos? Something's got to be wrong, man. Is our society so immature that just this mere fact that they can't reason and see the fact of life, they're willing to destroy everything for persons, for individuals, instead of our country, for their tribes, their tribal leaders, instead of our country? What's our path? What's our future? What's our destiny? With all this mess going on all around us, it seems as though our society has broken down, man, has lost control of ourselves. You know, everybody trying to be something that they're not. Now we're finding out that that's not the way we're supposed to be. And everything has broken down now, because when we're supposed to be paying attention to these minute issues in our country, finding leadership, building leadership, finding people to develop as good leaders, we're not doing all the things. We're just thinking about stealing, corruption, selfishness, who tribe you from, where tribe you from. Those are the things we're thinking about instead of our country. Now is it too late for us to save what is ours? I really don't know. Because it's up to the Liberian people. It's up to all of us, not one person, not two person. It's up to all of us. This is our democracy. If our democracy fail, it's because we fail to maintain it. We fail to chastise our leaders. We fail to be disciplined ourselves, because our leaders not affording us that discipline. Our leaders there for the politics and the money and the wealth. They're not there for the Liberian people. If they're there for the Liberian people, they will make sure that our society attain some sort of discipline and order and sense of responsibility for themselves and for our country. But we're not doing that. Everything around us is destructive. It's for quick money. It's for corruption, to steal. It creates havoc and violence, even amongst us, as peaceful as we've been trying to be. Because our society is broken down. And when the society is broken down and we don't have leaders with the vision and the education and knowledge to let me tell you something. Plenty of people educated, but plenty of people not wise. People can be educated and selfish. When people educated people are selfish, they are void of feelings for the lower people, for the lesser significant people. They're void of feeling. Everything for me, me, me. What's in it for me? And that's how our society is today, because the kind of education we're getting, it's not education that liberates our minds. It's education that makes us dependent and frustrated and lost, full of anger, bitterness. Because the things we want to attain, we can't attain it. What we attain in a country when the government is the highest employer of everybody and the government is the poorest government in the world? What can you attain from that government? You can't attain nothing. You can't attain nothing. Education is limited. Advancing your knowledge is limited. Everything is limited because the government is a dependent government. It's not a free government. If the government was striving for self-sufficiency and growing rice, we exporting palm products, fruits, rice, and we got income coming in that can sustain the country. We got country rice that we can grow. We don't have to import rice. Everywhere you go, you got to import some kind of rice, because when you got foreigners, when you're in a democracy, people have choices and preferences. That's what motivates our economy. If you're an economist, you know those are the 3 things or 4 things that drives the economy: supply, demand, preference. Those are things that drive the economy. Because if supply and demand there, then preference changes everything. Because when you got choice, preference, you can go high, you can want to buy expensive products, or you can buy cheap products. That what makes the market expands, because everybody in the marketplace got preferences. All of them may want to eat bitter ball, but some people like green bitter ball and not brown bitter ball. Some people like ripe bitter ball and not young bitter ball. I mean, everything, that's preference. That what changes the economic situation of everything. The economists will tell you. That's the only thing that changes everything. What is preference? Preference is our personal desire, our personal wants and needs. It's our preference. Some people may like, all of us can use the same hair cream. All of us can use Vaseline for our hair. But they have different hair products. Why? Because of preference. Some people prefer Gucci product. Some people prefer what the other one? Dior. Some people prefer Versace. Some people prefer. That's why you got all these different designers, because of preferences. So it's the same thing all over the world when it comes to leadership too. When it comes to how our government function, how our people perceive our government leadership, how our people perceive themselves. It's above all. How do you see yourself? When you look in that mirror and say you're a Liberian, what do you see? Do you see a happy, jolly fella? Jolly fella? Do you see a sad guy? Do you see a confused guy? Who do you see when you look in the mirror and you say you're Liberian? Those are questions we got to ask ourselves, because from there we begin to develop an understanding of what are our preferences, what are our personal desires. That is different from the collective. It's different from the collective. That was in the system of democracy. We have to understand when we talk about collective leadership, collective understanding, collective direction. Collective means the whole body coming together as one. How do we differentiate when we study preferences, wants and desires and needs? Those are personal traits that impact our economic and social lives. How you perceive yourself, how you perceive life, how you perceive anything you do will impact how you live within that continuum. So it's the same thing with our leadership. We start with violence. As soon as violence starts, nobody got power over violence. Nobody got monopoly over violence. Everybody can take a rock, anybody can take up stick, anybody can start a movement for change, for destruction against the opposition. And if the government fails to act, to chastise its people, and you know its people are prone to doing this kind of thing. When you listen to Eugene Falcon, he tell you, I know it was my party. As soon as I heard, I knew that was my party, because my party people got different cliques. We got COP, we got Petty Boys, we got all these people in the party, and all of them got different objectives at any time. What kind of party is that? That means the leadership has no control over the party. If we're in the party, you got all these independent, self-promoting groups that can do anything at any time. What kind of party is that? What kind of political? We got to hold the government accountable for this. Because if the government got a political party with a bunch of gangsters running organizations in the party, and everybody got their own agenda, their own activities, their own movement, what kind of party is that? We got to monitor the CDC. Because you can't be a political party, then have the CPP, the Pocket Pound Boys, the other group, all these groups were in this party that cater to violence and recklessness and disregard for human lives. What kind of political party is that? The CDC needs to check itself before it wreck our nation. Because that violence that was started over there with Louis Brown, that was small. It didn't escalate into anything big. That was small. And we heard that this thing was being planned, that they wanted to do it in the daylight. They said, no, we can't let it at night. So there's an escalation, an intentional escalation of violence being perpetrated in our country. And it's not going to stop. If the government remains silent about these things, really act like a daisical in the face of all this kind of violence, what do you expect? The violence will escalate. Luckily, last night, nobody shot. You didn't hear no gunshot. But people threw rocks. The police arrested some people. We can't go on like this. The police cannot handle the kind of violence that we saw last night. Last night was just small. What if this kind of violence breaks out all over the city? The police can't handle it. The logistics. They ain't got the cars, they ain't got the pickup. Look at after the police took the people to prison. The so-called stayed behind and kept the violence going. They wanted to enter the radio station by force. Then the police had to come back. Because you can't leave a violent scene like that. You arrest some of the people and you take off and no police left behind to ensure that the rest of the crowd that there remains dispersed. And that what happened yesterday. Because when the arrested a few people and put in the pickup and pull off, all the police left. So the disgruntled crowd that was left behind, because they carried their friend, they jailed their buddy, they're not sure the guy was involved, the guy innocent. All these kind of accusations coming up now because the group's still there. The group's still pissed off. The police supposed to be there too. All the police can't leave at the same time. That's why we need more police officers. We need trained police officers. We need logistics, cars, paperwork, pencils, all these things for our people. We need it for the police. Because the violence is going to be breaking up like this, the police cannot just come, take some people and leave the crowd there. No, you got to bust the car and keep the crowd away. So when the police takes those people, you know you got disgruntled people. People will be pissed off that they took their friends, they took their brother, they took their cousin. So we piss off. So there must be a contingent left behind to ensure or assure that the violence does not continue? Can the CDC government assure us peace and stability from violence? Can they assure us that when the police arrive and quell one violence, there will be police still left behind to ensure that the situation will remain quiet? Are there enough officers with cars and logistics to prevent violence anywhere in Monrovia and throughout Liberia? Mainly in Monrovia, because Monrovia got half of the Liberian citizens, half of our population in Monrovia. So if anything break out in Monrovia, do we have the police to serve different areas of our boroughs? New Kuta, Concota, West Point. We got the police to cover all these boroughs because these are places prone to violence. Peensway right now, Peensway involved in this too. Is the police equipped? They're not equipped. Yesterday we had other violence. The police came, whisked 2-3 people away, and there were no other police left there. So then after the police left, the police are trying to break into the radio station again. They had to call for more police to come. So we got to learn riot control. Our police still don't know riot control. Because there are certain things you got to understand. You can't just come and quell the situation and all of your leave violent, disgruntled people, mad people, and unhappy people behind. You know it's going to escalate the violence again. You just took some of the troublemakers, but there are still troublemakers there. People prone to make trouble. Can we handle all of this? Sporadic violence in Concota, sporadic violence in New Kuta, sporadic violence across the bridge, Douala. Can you handle all of that? Do we have enough manpower? Do we have enough logistics? We don't. If not, we're going back into the 1980s. We're going back into violence, man. We're going back into violence because right now it's demonstrating that people are willing to take the law into their own hands. And when you see people willing to take the law into their own hands, there is no telling how far it may escalate. Okay? So that is enough on violence. Let me talk. I want you to talk about the December riot. Let me just take a coffee break and I'll be right back. We'll talk about the December planned riot. This December riot, this December rally is necessary, but if these oppositions cannot come together and decide what they want to do on December 17th, it will be risky. Is the CPP truly together enough to plan this kind of massive rally they want to plan? We hear Costa saying he will not be there. We hear Costa saying he will tell people not to be there. We hear another group saying they will not be there. If we're going to do this kind of thing, then is it worth having this rally? Is it worth putting Monrovia in jeopardy? If the other parties will just sit down and not participate in this rally? Is this bitterness so deep-rooted in these parties that these people can't overcome the bitterness and come together to save our country? Is their political ambitions far better than saving Liberia? Because all the things that go on for this December 17 rally is a personality clash. Just in the CPP. These big men acting as small children. I mean, I can't understand it. You know, y'all want to rule the country. All of y'all can't rule at the same time. Y'all can't sit down and be honest to each other. Y'all can't tell the truth and be fair and sincere. Everything got to be based on deception and treachery and tricks and politics. If everything you're going to do going to be suspect of each other, oh, what are you in it for? What do you get out of it? And why I would get out of it? If you're going to be that little petty children like that, why you want to join a political party? Why you keep coming together trying to form coalition? And every time you form this coalition, your immaturity and childishness come in and play into it. And you're deceived the Liberian people time again. You raise our hopes for something good, then you just dash it on the ground because of the immature leadership. All of y'all can't lead Liberia at the same time. All of y'all can't serve as president and government of the people at the same time. So what all this rigmarole and fighting and dishonesty and lying and treachery and backstabbing, well, all this thing for? You ain't going nowhere with it. In the end, the very thing you're wishing for or trying to fight against is the very thing that will dominate you. It will dominate you. Because all the noise you're making, it doesn't signify any unifying effort to encourage the Liberian people to rise up and say, we support this group. This is all, you keep dashing our hopes. Dashing our hopes. Every time we call you and thinking you're going to stand up for us, you dash it. You throw it down, throw it in the bush, throw it under the toilet. I mean, how long will we go on with this thing? How long will we go on? If you can unite, if you hit each other so much, let's just forget about coalition. Let's just forget about coming together. Everybody just go on their own and let's stop the deception, the lies, and get the confusion on the Liberian people, man. Our country confused. We are confused, man. Look at the political parties can't agree. The only reason George Weah's party is still agreeing because he's in power and majority of the Liberian people support George Weah as an individual. That's what all this thing going on for. If they didn't support George Weah as an individual and relied on our constitution, the CDC would not be as powerful as it is because the other people with George Weah can't draw crowds. They can't. That's a sucker king. He still got his sucker power. Now his son now bring more prestige to the administration by playing for the U.S. Our nation is a sucker nation. And we got to accept it. That the people got to change it themselves. They got to rise up and make their own decisions about their own lives and destiny. We can talk all we want to talk. We can sing all we want to sing. If the Liberian people are not ready to change this administration, they still think soccer is a pride thing and dignity thing in their lives. And to have a man playing international soccer as their president brings great pride to them as a people. We can't change that. We can't change it. Our country is a soccer nation. We can't change it. We can't change it because the Liberian people now, they don't want to change. Our people are stubborn, high-headed people. They will not just change that. I look at the FGM situation. All the way to telling the people to stop it, they said they won't pay them. It didn't pay them, they didn't care about no, what the chief said, we didn't care about nothing, say they would do the FGM. They don't care. What does that tell you about our people? They're stubborn. They have no regards for laws of the Western world. They will do what they want to do. As a tribal thing, we'll do it. We don't give a damn what you say. We'll do it. So there's a conflict of two worlds we're living in. You know, when you got everything you do, you got to go to the tribal council, then you got to go to the elder council, you got to go to there's a council for everything, and all of that just screwing our country up. Because everybody in those councils want money for themselves. They don't care about what's going on, what's in it for me. What's in it for me? And our children our community and our country suffer. So we see 9 security officers ran away from the president. 9 security officers that's supposed to be protecting our president took him overseas and ran away. Why? Why? The Tiyah Suffering. Is it that the Tiyah Suffering too? That way they ran away? Why would the people that are most fed, most protected, most paid, run away from the president? 9, not 1 or 2, 9 security officers ran away. What does that say of our president, the leadership, the country? That means no matter what you do for the people, man, they're tired. They are tired and they will run. They will run. They don't give a damn. They don't care about responsibilities, nothing. They're tired. Why would 9 people protecting the president in the most lucrative position around money, around power, around everything run away and leave the president on her own? God, jigga. Well, my people, my class is almost done. But if we don't support this retired rally and we keep putting off the idea of changing our country and the leadership or holding them accountable for all the monies they're spending and all the reckless things they're doing, our countrymen will just stay like that. We might just stay like that until our people come to their senses that it's not right for them. You know, right now, our whole country is a soccer nation. They're imbued with soccer in their blood. So they don't care anything. They just see the football and everybody they're soccer stars. And they don't know that our nation is more than that. They don't know they got to eat, they got to sleep, they got to be clothed, they got to be fed. They don't know that. All they want is what they can get right now. And this is the issues and problems for maturity. Because mature people don't really know what they want. They think they know what they want. But the thing that they really want is not what they're going after. Because right now they're going after money and fame and power. They're not seeing the way how to get there is difficult. The way how to get there is a struggle. They're not seeing it. They just won't live to the man who's a soccer player, a world star. So they feel that by having this man in front of them, his life will radiate on their lives, and they will be somehow connected to the star. But this is the immaturity we suffer in our country. And as long as our people have not suffered enough to accept the fact that their lives need changing, we can't change it. We can talk all we want. We can beat the time all we want. We can bring all the videos and show all the examples until the Liberian people accept the fact that their lives need to be changed. That the way they're living today is not the way they're supposed to live. The way these people stealing from us is an abomination in the sight of God. If they can't see all of that and accept it as true, we can't change our people. We can't even voting because our country is a football nation. Right now, George Weah is the biggest celebrity we ever had in our history. And people will gravitate to him. Now his son is an even bigger celebrity because the whole world knows his son now at the World Cup. So, can our young people handle all of this celebrity for George Weah and still be loyal to the Republic of Liberia? That's the big question. Can you handle this celebrity of this man and still be loyal enough to hold him accountable for his abuses, his evil, and corruption against Liberia and Liberian people? When you answer that question, let me know. Then we're ready to change our country. But in the meantime, The struggle continues. Aluta! Continue. My class is done. Have a good day, my people. I'll see you all tomorrow on the lowdown. On the lowdown. 1 letter, 2 letter, 3 letter EPS. Then there was 4, 5, 6, 7 EPS. 8, 9 EPS officer. They ran away from the president. They left him stranded in Europe. Why did they run away? Why did 9 EPS officers run away? They were tired. They were tired. They tired suffering. They tired suffering. Even the EPS suffering. They tired suffering. They tired suffering. Why did the 9 people run away from the president? They tired suffering. They tired suffering. It's time to run away. They tired suffering. I see you tomorrow. You tired suffering. Hey, you tired suffering. You tired suffering. Hey.